All
Yo,
right,
yo.
welcome back. Yo, how are you, mate?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
That's good.
All right, hey everybody. So today, we're going to talk about intuition, and I suppose it opens many elements as to what is intuition, how do you hear it, how do you respond to it, how do you take notice of it, or even be aware of it. Um, we're finding along our hero's journey as individuals, but also as a team that really paying attention to intuition's really important, whether it be at home, for business. Let's kick it off with our logo. So
Yeah.
we've been working on our logo and our branding at the moment, and
Yeah.
we've had some interesting variations come through. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on that one,
Oh, it's
Mike,
yeah,
in
we're
terms
just
of
talking, right? It's
obviously,
a great,
yeah,
great topic of conversation.
mm,
And I know if we go back initially first to what is intuition or that inner knowing, it's like it's an inner knowing, and we
mm,
haven't been taught to listen to our intuition as much. Well, if you have been, you're lucky if it's something that's been, you know, taught by parents or some kind of mentor.
mm,
But essentially, we're not generally taught, so we don't know what that's like, and it's like building a muscle and getting
mm,
that understanding and that trust in yourself that your intuition is
yeah,
there for a reason and it's there to guide you
yeah,
instead of getting up into our heads, which for a long time and for a lot of men is what they do. And again, there's nothing wrong with being in your head. It's advantageous at times. But when
mm,
you can connect head and heart and also listen to intuition, it's just coming from a much different place.
yeah,
Um, and so, yeah, we were developing this logo, right? It's you sent me those things, the videos through, and I was
yeah, yeah,
busy. And there was a 15-second one I checked out, and a
mm,
47-second one I didn't look at that had a whole bunch of little ones.
mm,
And when you sent that through, and I was like, I knew we had a deadline, right? We both agreed on the deadline, and so
yeah,
and I could tell, you were like want to get it
yeah.
done,
Just
which
get
I
it
commended
done,
you
get it
for.
out.
So I'm
Yeah,
like, oh shit, just that's fine. That second one's all right, but I
yeah,
knew
mm,
intuitively, I was like, this doesn't sit right with me, and I
yeah,
went along with it because I knew we just wanted to get the version up, get first
yeah,
version, get it actioned instead of sitting on it trying to get it
yeah.
perfect. And
And
that in itself, we've touched on that, but okay,
what
go.
was funny for me on that was your answer to that message. I was surprised because
Yeah.
from my point of view, and I suppose you could say it's intuition as well. I really like the exact one that you like, you liked as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Just,
once I
yeah,
finally looked at the damn
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so and then just now when we were going through, because I hadn't looked at the 47-second thinking,
yeah,
it was like something you sent through that was like a big
yeah. A
bloody
long video.
long
Yeah,
one. I'm like, oh
yeah,
God, I don't want to like pay attention to that one. Little did I know it was like six or seven small ones that were
yeah,
way damn better.
yeah.
Um, so I yeah, once you showed me that or had a look at it, what was nice is
Mm,
straight away I was like, boom, that's it.
yeah,
And it's trusting that inner knowing, that
mm,
feeling
mm,
that when it feels congruent and you kind
yeah,
of know on an energetic level. And it's really hard to explain,
mm,
but
mm,
for
mm,
some of you, this may come naturally, right? Because some
mm,
people
mm.
are tuned in more like this, but I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
wasn't. And over the last 18 months, it's something I've been learning to do more and more.
yeah,
Um, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's it,
yeah,
And then you said the same.
yeah,
And what I found
yeah,
through this project that we're doing, when the energetics are right,
yeah,
it's right. Like,
yeah,
and it's all about the energy behind what we're doing. It's not about the words or the end product so much as the energetics and intention behind the product or the words.
yeah,
And when those are on point, then it connects and resonates at a frequency that is going to make a difference and impact.
yeah.
And that's been like a
100%.
really key distinction. So, yeah,
Yeah,
I was stoked that
100%.
you loved that one as well. Like you're like, what about
Yeah.
this one? I was like straight away. So that's been a really
Mm,
good what's the word I want to use? Litmus test as well. Is that when it seems
mm,
that you love it and I
mm,
love it, it's like
mm.
bang.
Yeah,
And because we're both very connected to this vision and mission that we're on,
yeah,
it just
yeah.
seems that there's always an alignment when we kind of look into it. There's an alignment there that's like, yeah, okay, that's it.
Oh, mate, 100%. And it's been really. We're talking about our logo and the sort of music overlay. So my part has been obviously, working with the creator of that, but then also starting off listening to different types of music, right? And there's so like our logo is about the hero's journey, right? So it's a warrior being confronted, symbolized by a person, or a warrior confronting and self-reflecting in a mirror. There's so many different spin-offs of themes. There's like cinematic, type, like hero's journey type sort of orchestra music. There's like drum beating. There's like hard rock guitar. There's like dubstep stuff. There's so many kind of themes that actually suit that. Do you know what I mean? So it's been quite tricky. But the thing that I've learned is about putting the time in. So what I've learned about my part and the role and in playing the synchronicity or the alignment and the intuition is that, in my case anyway, it might be different for other people, but there's a thing called a miracle where something just miraculously happens, right? And you log in and bang, the first piece of music you see, you're like, oh my gosh, and the heavens open up, but then there's sometimes, and quite often in my experience, doing the work, which is actually spending an hour or 5 hours or whatever listening to different tracks, getting a feel for it, sifting through the mass of information to find what aligns, and I find the same, for me, like even reading a good book or listening to a podcast, I still have to go and get my phone, find what I want to watch and push play. And then the magic out of that, while I'm listening to it, there might be 3 or 4 things that are just perfect for that time that come out. So I think you're bang on. It's like using your intuition to sort of sift through for that needle in the haystack. And when you find it, you just know that, man, that is bang on. Like I'm getting goosebumps now talking about that. Like, like we've put in a lot of work in the last couple of weeks to get to this point, And it's like, now we just know and we feel right. And I think I know that I can apply that principle to life in general, whether it's
it's that building that muscle, right? And the more we talk about it, the more you acknowledge it. And I liken this back to we've talked about synchronicity, and initially, like, when there's synchronicity, you go, oh, that's just weird. And I've been making sure we reframe that to there it is. There's the synchronicity. And the more you then start to and thank the universe for showing you and actually giving gratitude for it. And acknowledging it for what it is then as you see it more often, as you see it with more clarity. And because, again, whatever you think about, you bring about. So you're bringing more of it about, acknowledging it for what it is. Whereas if you're if we go, oh, that's weird. Oh, yeah, that's strange. You kind of, in that moment when we do that, we are not acknowledging it for the magnificence that is, and we're kind of downplaying it.
Belittling it,
but belittling it, and so it's like this is kind of wrapped up with all of this as the journey as we go deeper into ourselves and grow into more self-appreciation, self-worth, self-love, and leadership.
100%.
It's that really coming back into that heart-centered place and leading from that, and having an expanded awareness on what's actually going on. Oh, mate. And, and like from a logo and overlay and music and all that sort of point of view, I think why it's so important to us, some people might think, oh, we'll just bloody get the logo done and get a thing. But it's like, it's important that it represents, intuitively represents that message and what we're actually talking about and trying to represent, And I think I think I mentioned this before. If you look at a lot of big brands, they invest so much time and money into getting their branding right and their logo correct, just right for that market. It's what it symbolizes, but it's also their market research and just it's phenomenal. So I think it's a really important part of getting presence out there is what it sits intuitively, but also what represents us as well. I think, we're also a big part of that, this whole brand. And so it's what represents us and what encourages straight away within the first 6 seconds states what we're about and what we're here, and also attracts people that want to listen and engage in these type of conversations, and like if we strip it back to energetics again, which everything is, I mean, everything's just energy, right? When you strip it all back, It's just coming from that place, coming from an energetics place, and being consciously aware of that, and therefore delivering and making sure everything resonates on that place. It's just game changing in regards to how you show up or what you're showing up with. And when you come from a place of energetics and having that intention congruent about what you're doing, then it will go out to the world, to the people, no matter what you're doing or your work or your family, and it's felt. Therefore, it resonates at that level and vibration for those that are ready to receive it. And so it's this reciprocation and this connection based on that. And it's quite amazing when you actually think about it.
100%. 100%. And that,
versus getting stuck up in the head and over analyzing and like, oh man, I just remember how much I used to do that. Fuck. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I don't do that still. There's times I'll go and analyze, but I can catch myself, but it's kind of stripping that back in these old narratives and old stories and just getting present with self. And when you can get present with self, that a lot of that brain noise and chatter kind of subsides and washes away when you can actually go into the feeling of it versus just fucking that fast mind that likes to analyze and extrapolate, which again has its place, it's very useful. But when wanting to check in on something about that, what you're showing up as or delivering, I really, really know now that feeling into it has a much bigger effect.
Big time, man. Like if any, I've got a list of clients that I work with at the moment, and you do as well. For me, when I do my billing or invoice raising for each client, I work through that list, and I always have like a practical, to-do list, which is what we talk about, the practical side of it. But I always didn't necessarily realize I did this until now, but I always intuitively also check in on each client. Where are they at? What's my feeling or my intuition on where they're at the moment for them, for our relationship, and what do I need to do at this moment to add value to that client? In some cases, it's not a lot at all because I've just done a big piece with them or whatever, and that's fine. And this month, we're just business as usual type scenario. Other times, they might be struggling with an issue, or I know for a fact that I've found an issue or whatever it might be, or just intuitively there's a change of relationship or there's a vibe that I've got from an email or communication or whatever it might be. It's checking in. It's really powerful. And I find the same even with my relationships at home. If I'm, this is the first time I'm kind of really thinking about it or talking about it, but intuitively I also have a bit of an instinctive feel as to where they are at, with my wife, with each of my kids. And it's allowing the time to tap into that, I think. Like in your opinion, how do you tap into that, or how do you, or a person or we integrate that kind of into daily life? Like, is it sort of just sitting down and thinking about it, or is it like real time, or like what's your
going into your intuition or trusting your intuition, man?
Yeah, so for example, give us an example of how you might use your intuition, and how does it sort of manifest for you? Is it something like with the logo where straight away is it just a gut feeling, or is it something you stop and make time for over a coffee, or how do you kind of integrate that more?
It's an interesting question. It's come more online the more work I've done on myself.
Right.
And essentially, and I just want to make a distinction too from memory. The difference and distinction between instinct and intuition. Instinct is more of a survival mechanism from recollection, which keeps us, protects us. It's like that instinct, that gut reaction. That's more of an instinct to survive. Intuition is tapping into your higher mind. It's tapping into that inner knowing. And so there's a kind of a distinction there between those two. In my view of things, anyway. And the intuition has come online more the deeper I've got in contact with myself and in touch with myself, without disassociating, without making myself wrong, and having integrated a lot of these shadow parts, these parts of shame, guilt, these parts that I hadn't been aware of, these blind spots. The more I've done all that and gone deeper into all that and had a deep, profound appreciation and gratitude for myself.
Yeah.
Once you have that, there's a real connected feeling with self. That's what's brought on the intuition more for me and had me become more present to listening to it and tuning into it and building that muscle.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you ask, well, what do I do for it? I've been a bit slack in this last week, but I do daily meditation and some form of integration to come home to myself. Because again, everything, I don't care what anyone says, it all comes down and boils down to our relationship with ourselves. Everything does. And to me, the journey that we're on as souls having a human experience here is really about that evolution and coming to self-love, self-worth, and self-connection. That's 100%. And then the outside world transforms anyway because it's just a reflection of the inner. So that's the part for me that's really increased that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I'd say the same thing. It's when I'm present, grounded, feeling confident, calm, and relaxed, and connected into spirit, into self, and congruent. Then it's almost as if magic happens, and I notice synchronicity, intuition, and there's this nice flow. People talk about being in the flow. For me, I think that's what happens, It's not necessarily a logical thing. It's just sometimes getting logic out of the way and just going with the flow, following intuition. Yes, we need logic and practical activity every day, like for a to-do list, for example, working through a to-do list. But I find that my to-do list, I can just punch it out of my mind in like 2 minutes in the morning if I'm in that flow. Where if I'm feeling fragmented and questioning myself, anxious, worried, I've drunk too much or whatever it is. It's just chaos in that space, So I think maintaining that calm, balanced sort of state of being is pretty important for me and conducive to that and to recognizing intuition, because I'm not in some fight or flight or kind of dorsal depressed sort of state. I'm actually in a balanced, calm, happy place. And it's a lot easier to be aware of the intuition and make good decisions, I think.
But even having the conversation that we're having now, if you think about it, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, but it wouldn't have even been a place to have that dialogue. And so when I look at the journey for each of us, for everyone, it's a continual process. And it's acknowledging that it's a continual process. It doesn't end. No. Like it's, we've been so, I know you wanted me to try and curb my F-bombs, but I just can't help myself and like dropping them in there.
No, it's just for the social media platforms.
I know. Yeah,
but we can bleep stuff out.
Yeah, they can just handle it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Just
they
anyway.
Off.
I look at it and it's just, I don't know, since I've had this philosophy for a long time, but again, I've just got it on a deeper level now. That as long as we're here. For me, my philosophy and my principle is we're here to grow and evolve. And that means taking on the challenges, taking on the pain and not running from it and seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, which we're kind of designed to do, we're designed to do in order to kind of survive. But the real growth comes from leaning into that and going, I'm a soul having a human experience. And that part, that mission is just to keep evolving, to keep growing and learning. And when you kind of come to that point, the way you then look at everything and what comes up is completely different. Like you just see it in a different light. Yeah. And, sure, there's times where I'll get triggered from something and I, initially want to go, God damn, I don't want to deal with that, or I've got to deal with this. But you just go, right, okay, choose the pain. And what am I going to get from this? Where's the growth opportunity? Where's the learning? And then lean into it. And so it's quite exciting when you can come from a place like that. Yeah. It just changes the way you see everything.
Oh, definitely.
I think you brought it up the other day, like, if I can, like you shared with me. And again, it makes complete sense and it's normal where you go, sometimes you go, this leadership thing and stepping into this, I just don't know if I can be bothered. And I just want to, just do the normal kind of 9 to 5 and just have an ordinary average kind of existence, whatever that is. And I think I said to you, I was like, yeah, right. Like the pain that's going to come from that for you is like massive. Like you're not designed just to do the same thing, clock in, clock out each day and do the same thing, come home and like,
No.
You're designed to grow. And, again, there's no judgment on anyone for where they show up and how they want to show up. But if you really want a rewarding existence and you want to have new challenges, because you can't avoid the challenge is going to show up, pain's going to show up. But it's like if you want to deal with the same shit over and over again, cool, that's cool. You can stay in that loop, or you continue to grow and evolve and then find new, more inspiring challenges and pain.
Yeah.
And so when we shared that, you're like, straight away, you're like, that's.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the key part. I actually think that I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but I think a lot of people that I know are the same. And I see people around me choosing to be small or choosing to self-medicate with alcohol, drugs, whatever it might be, to suppress the unhappiness. And I think that comes from they want to grow. We all want to grow. We're here. I mean, we're creators. Look at us. Look at us. We create each day.
Yeah.
We go to sleep at night. The next day, how I view the future and what happens tomorrow is in my mind.
Yeah.
I can think that it's going to go like 26 different ways, like letters of the alphabet, A to Z. It can, I create that future every single day. It's phenomenal when you think about the power that we have.
Yeah.
But
again, it's reminding yourself of that magnificence,
so
right?
Crazy, man. And we just get stuck into this thing of like being a victim. And I think for me, the hero's journey, or part of this whole journey, is actually remembering that and going, well, actually tomorrow, I'm actually going to do something different. I can do something different, and that opens a whole new world of possibility. And even I think for me, that's just one real practical step that listeners can take, is just to sit down and go, well, actually, if I'm not happy where I'm at now, how could tomorrow actually be a little bit different? What's one thing I could do differently? You know what I mean? And then just try it on. Try it on, like try and like on like a new t-shirt or a new shirt and see, does it fit? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Opens a whole new world of thinking, new way of thinking.
That brings up heaps of beautiful cliches, but one in particular of like inch by inch into cinch, And that's what you're kind of saying. It's just making some small choices to kind of shift. And again, when you subscribe to that it's just taking those steps, and often it's just taking that first step is the biggest step.
Yeah.
Particularly when doing inner work. Oh man, like the kind of clients I've had, that you can just feel the trepidation of starting with work with me, because they know it's going to be confronting. They know the mirror is going to be held up, and like as we talk about, it's one of the hardest places. It is the hardest place to look.
Yeah.
And so there's that trepidation, but once you take that first step and just acknowledge yourself and celebrate doing that, then you just keep inching. You just keep taking those steps. And it's amazing what you can accomplish over a small period or a long period of time. So on that note, we've got a roll today. But that was a great conversation.
It was. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.